Hey there, Dave Paulides, Can-Am Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video page. This is a special edition, and you can tell I'm back in the location where I did my initial video about Ben and his death. I've been taking a lot of heat the last week about some of my posts as of late, and honestly, don't care. Truthfully, don't care. Overwhelmingly positive, probably 97-3 is the ratios. If I lose a couple people off the channel because they don't like me talking, well, sorry. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I also just want to give you the facts. This video today is going to be different. This is, I know nobody knows this, but this is Ben's birthday, August 26th. And I always have done something special for the kids on their birthday. I try to make it a special day. I never got just like the normal gifts. I'd do something different, whatever that might be. And for Ben, I always try to do something that he'd never think I'd do. Whether it was a gift that he would just think would be great, a book or something that he would never have thought that I'd maybe get him a signature from somebody or whatever. But it is his birthday today. I'm going to try to hold myself together in this video for you. It might be difficult. I'm going to start off with this hat. In his last year in 2015 at Miami University, they won the NCHC championship. And this was their hat. He gave it to me. I haven't worn it outside. Found it in the closet today, and I said, I'm going to wear it in this video. But it's going to be a reflection on Ben and his life. Before I get started, I want you guys to know the type of things I get from people and how to respond. I got this morning. Dear Dave, I love your channel, but I'm getting disappointed and so bored with the mental health talk. Wow. Folks, I'm not here to entertain you. And I'm not here to fill a gap in your boring lives. I'm really here as a service to educate and to hopefully save some lives along the way. That's how the channel started. Ben started this channel. And it's evolved into the same criteria. But I think I'd be a fool if I didn't talk about mental health. And it's, in the grand scheme of this channel, it's a very small part. But I hear from you daily about people taking their lives out there. And I don't care what you think. I know that this pandemic, a great part of it, and the great number of lives we're losing are directly related to people taking their lives. The person who wrote me this comment, her name was Janet, obviously has no clue about what's going on around her. And she's just concerned with her little bubble of life. In the community I live in, and it's not unusual, as I've heard from California friends, the suicide rate is astronomical the last year and a half. Folks, that's your kids, my kids, our friends, our relatives. We have to be concerned. And I think that mental health and somebody taking their lives has to be viewed entirely differently. We don't even have any great medical facilities in our world for mental health. If you look at it, well, every state ought to have one world-class facility. We don't have that. That's a shame. It's more than a shame. It's a catastrophe. There's a huge, huge disparity in the number of people with mental health issues and psychiatrists in the world. It can take you sometimes weeks to, I know people are going to say, oh no, not in our community. Well, when I was in Los Angeles with Ben, it took 2 months to get an appointment with some of the psychiatrists we were given. Friends, when you have a mental health issue, 2 months, that ain't going to do it. What are the answers? The answers is that we need to get a group of mental health and regular physicians together, along with politicians that really care, and form a task force and take maybe a few $100 billion of this $1 trillion budget that they're trying to pass and devote it entirely to mental health, because that is what is killing us right now. It's taking lives of good people. Okay, I'm going to get on and talk about Ben. So Ben was born August 26, 91 in Santa Cruz, California, Dominican Hospital. It was a big day. The reason being is that on the way to the hospital, we noticed smoke on the hillside behind the hospital. But my wife at the time, we didn't care. She was having a baby. She was in labor. We get into the hospital, we go to the delivery area. Yep, you're having a baby. And then all of a sudden they said, well, the nurses are talking amongst themselves, we may have to evacuate. The hill's burning behind the hospital. Oh, God. Well, I know that when a lady is having a baby, they don't care about evacuation. They're having the baby. And luckily, we didn't have to evacuate. And Ben was born without complications. Healthy, happy little guy. 30 years ago today, there was nobody in this world happier than me. Now, did I ever in the farthest recesses of my mind think I'd be here talking about it like this today? Not a chance. But let me move forward. He was born, and I knew at the time that I was going to be a good dad, an attentive dad, not a latchkey dad. And this isn't in no way an implication or pointing fingers at those families that have to do that. I get it. We're in a real fortunate position at the time. My wife had a real good job in technology. I was just about 5 years away from leaving the police department. So I knew my path. I was getting my master's degree. I knew I was getting out, and I was going to technology too. And eventually I did. And I was able to get a job where I went in really early in the mornings, and I hated it because I'm a night person, but still, because we wanted to cover both ends of the day so the kids didn't have to go into some kind of care center. And any earlier in life, I don't think I could have handled it myself. I knew the kind of person I was, and I had to be mature, and I had to take the focus off of me, and it was going to be on the kids. And I knew I was smart enough to help them through life at some level. And as Ben got older, I started to let him figure out what kind of sports he might want to do. Well, at the same time, the San Jose Sharks were in the Bay Area. And we were living in Santa Cruz. Shortly after Ben was born, we moved to Los Gatos, a suburb of San Jose, nice suburban city. And The Sharks did a real smart thing. They went into the community, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and bought the elementary school street hockey gear. Well, one of the days Ben came home from school. He was going to Blossom Hill School in Los Gatos. And he said, Dad, we had a blast today. We were playing street hockey, blah, 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 and we talked about it. I said, oh, you really had fun? Oh, yeah, it's really fun. So I said, okay, well, let's get some stuff and play around the backyard. And we did. We played in the driveway, and I got a little net, and he started shooting the pucks around. And that's really how hockey got started with him. And I made an agreement with the kids that as long as they held their GPA high, they could continue to do whatever sport they wanted to do. But they had to play a sport, and they had to pick it. And one of the very first options that we found for playing hockey was there was a YMCA league in town. And I put a team together of local kids. That's Ben up here. And we started to rock and roll. That was Ben's start with hockey, street hockey. Well, things started to migrate, and then we started to play roller hockey. And myself and Phil, the other coach, had sons playing roller hockey. That's Ben. And Phil's son also went on to play college hockey. So this was a starting point for two of us. Now, there was a league at a location in San Jose called Rollin' Ice. And they had really nice rinks, and it was a great place to play, and we migrated over there. This is Ben over here. And it was really at Rollin' Ice that Ben started to just take off. And his hockey skills really started to shine. And then Dad, in my mind, I'm thinking, this kid has some talent. And then I started to look into roller hockey. And at the time, there really was no future for roller hockey. Say if you want to play in college, yeah, you could play some club sports down in Southern California, but there was no intercollegiate sport at the time. And there were no scholarships. So just down the road, the San Jose Sharks had a 4-rink facility, and I went down there. And I talked to some people, and they had leagues, and Ben didn't know how to skate. Never been on ice. He knew how to rollerblade, but he never knew how to ice skate. So, a long time ago, when I was younger, I heard a coach in ice hockey say, kids spend all their time stick handling, shooting, but the most important skill is how good you skate. Yeah. Resonated with me. I paid attention. So when Ben got to the Sharks facility, I started to ask around, and I said, hey, who's the best skating instructor? And they said, a woman named Kathy Andrade, Andrade. Without Kathy, Ben would have never made it to college. But with Kathy, he got acknowledgement. And he skated with her for probably 10 years. And Kathy taught power skating. Now, to you that maybe don't know anything about ice skating, it's really important. Your stride. If you see people skating, a lot of people keep their feet wide apart so they don't fall. But to get the full stride, to get the full speed, you got to bring your feet together every time. You got to almost touch. And Kathy taught Ben to skate. But just not forward. You got to be able to skate backwards too when you're playing ice hockey. And she's a phenomenal instructor. She has her own facility now in San Jose. We were so lucky to meet her. And Ben was scoring a lot of goals now in his new ice hockey team. Well, he went to another team the following year, And the coach saw him skate. He was skating way better than almost anybody on the team. And he pulls me aside and he goes, "Hey, Dave," he goes, "I know Ben scores a lot of goals, but we really need a defenseman. And he really can skate well. Do you mind if I put him on defense?" I thought, let's try it, sure. Do what the team needs. Andy Buchanan. He's a realtor in San Jose. Andy Buchanan. Andy, thank you for turning Ben into a defenseman. He was the coach that did it. Recognize the talent. It's probably from that point forward that Ben now rocketed. He was going to Archbishop Mitty High School, and there was a high school league there. And the league had some really good teams, but Mitty's team wasn't very good. And Ben just sometimes carried the puck coast to coast and scored just to keep his team in the hunt. So there were great guys on that team. I was a co-coach on that team for a couple years. Kids, if you're out there watching, man, I love each one of you. You guys are great, great people. Mitty had great people. Well, Ben won the award that year for one of the best players in the league. Thanks to his coach for giving it to him. Appreciate it. And I'll show you a picture. I blocked out the girl because I don't want to embarrass her, but that was Ben's senior high school photo. He was really happy. He knew he was going places. He was having fun. Here's an older picture I forgot to show you that when I was coaching at Rolling Ice, roller hockey team, Ben. We have tons of these kind of things around the house, and sometimes they're tough to look at, obviously. Well, so Ben started to take off. He was going to Archbishop Mitty, a Catholic school, private school in San Jose. And I can tell you that school really transformed my kids' education. It was unbelievable. Mitty used to brag that 99.9% of all the kids who graduate went to college. Well, in Ben's senior year, his coach at the time, the San Jose AAA midget team, San Jose Junior Sharks, Tony Zakowski. Tony is a great man. And right now he is one of the officials for a developmental league for kids wanting to go to college in ice hockey. Tony Zakowski, good guy. Well, Tony said, "Dave, you got to start taking Ben to camps and things, and you need to get him some exposure at other leagues." Well, we got an invitation to Kearney, Nebraska, to practice with this team for 3 or 4 days in the USHL. That was the highest developmental league available for kids to not lose your college eligibility. So we flew to Denver, flew to Kearney, and we're in this really nice rink in the middle of nowhere. And Ben practiced with this team of older kids for 4 days. And at the end, the coach took us to dinner and said, "Dave, I'll take him right now." He was only 17. And he goes, "No, I'll take him right now. And he's got a good college future." And I said, "Okay, let Ben and I talk about it." So we left, and Ben and I talked about it. And he said, "You know, Dad, I really want to graduate from Mitty and make a decision." I said, "Great." So we played in a series of tournaments that were scouted by USHL teams all over the nation. And Ben graduates from Mitty, and he gets a call from the Youngstown Phantoms in Youngstown, Ohio, a USHL team. And they said, "Hey, we're going to draft you." And in the USHL draft, they drafted him. And Ben left Mitty after he graduated, spent a summer training in Minnesota at the Minnesota hockey camp, Great facility. The best in the world, I think. And he went to Youngstown, Ohio. He started to play hockey there. Now, what's funny about this to me is that it skewed Archbishop Mitty's stats on how many people go straight into college from Mitty. It lowered their stats. Ben was the embarrassment to the school. At the time he was, apparently. So, the reason kids, if they want to play at the highest level in Division I college ice hockey, you got to go there to mature in the USHL, or there's a couple other leagues you can go to, but the USHL is the highest and the most prestigious and places the kids in the top programs. So at the end of the first year, Ben had a couple offers. He came back that summer, just lifted weights, trained. He worked his butt off. And I know because I saw it. And he got picked up and offered a position with the #1 team in the nation, Miami, Ohio. And he said, "Dad, I can't believe I got it." Yeah. So we went out there on a visit. Beautiful school. The city is Oxford, Ohio. And Oxford is a small little city in the middle of nowhere of Ohio. Farmlands around it. Beautiful place. And they had a absolutely pristine arena. It wasn't real big, but just big enough to cram it every night for hockey games. The atmosphere was a 10 every game I went to. And they had a super, super good business school, and that's where Ben wanted to go. So he goes, "Dad, I'm in. I got it." And he got a scholarship. And I flew out there and put him in a dorm, and away he went. And I wouldn't say school was easy for Ben, but it wasn't real hard. But just so you know, most kids on scholarships for sports, don't really take a tough load. They're there to play sports. And they try to find the easiest load they can, recreational sports or PE or whatever it might be. No, Ben double majored and went through their business school. And sent me his transcripts every quarter. And he was nailing it. He was doing great. And hockey was treating him well. It was a super competitive program. At the beginning, they were in one program, the MAC, and then they switched over to the NCHC. Well, in Ben's second year at Miami, he blossomed. And at the end of that year, he was awarded this. And this is the Steve Cady Most Improved Player of the Year. And this is one of the most prestigious things to get at hockey at Miami. And Ben got it. His name's on the plaque outside the arena. I was so proud of him. Because he was playing and fighting for a position his freshman year with some of the best college players in the world, for sure. And in the second year, he broke through. Never affected his academics. He just was drilling that. But when he wasn't playing like he normally was, it affected him. And the coaches on that team rode the players like there's no tomorrow. And there was very little compassion. And Ben was seeing a sports psychologist out there, along with other players, because it was brutal, the way the coaches treated him. But in his junior and senior year, the team went to Soldier Field in Chicago, and they played in a special game there. And this was on top of Ben's locker when he played at Soldier Field. That was one of the most interesting events we ever went to, because you're sitting way high up in the stands and you're looking down and it's like you're at this giant outdoor arena. It's almost like an NHL event. And Ben brought this out and said, "Here, Dad, I know you want it." I did. And like I said, his number was 28. So his team, they called it the Brotherhood. This was one of Ben's jerseys I have. I have 4 of them. Kept giving them to me. And NCHC was his conference. This jersey's pretty trashed. But he kept rolling, and he kept playing. And he played more and more and more. And at the end of his freshman year, the scouts from the San Jose Sharks saw Ben, and they invited him to their summer developmental camp, where they invite the best young players in the world to come for 2 weeks to San Jose, when that was only like 10 miles from our house, and train and just see how well they can perform. And Ben was ecstatic, because he knew what that meant. He was being looked at by the pros. Well, the Sharks invited him for 3 years to this. Each year he got better. Each year he got more competitive. Each year he loved it. And I want to thank the Sharks for doing that for a hometown kid. Now, in 2013, Ben's team won their championship. And when you win a championship in college, it's a big deal. And this was Ben's ring that he got for being on a team that won the championship. So, Miami, the Brotherhood, and his name. Pretty cool ring. I can't believe he got it. He brought it home. Well, his last year, when he won the NCHC championship, he got this ring. That's even cooler. So, now, this isn't a great picture, but in the final seconds of the game where Miami was playing North Dakota, and in their league they have North Dakota, Denver University, some of the best teams in the U.S. play in that NCHC league. They're playing North Dakota, and Ben's on the ice as a defenseman. And I've told them before, that was a prestigious thing. They trusted you so much. And North Dakota's controlling the puck in that last 30 seconds. And Miami was up by 1 goal. And Ben's on the ice facing 2 of the best players in the world. And what he does is that one player from North Dakota right here tries passing the puck through the crease to another player over here. Ben gets down, puts a stick on the ice, blocks the pass, clears the puck, game over, Miami wins. I told Ben I start crying. Premier moment in Dad's life. And everybody in the crowd knew it. Tons of parents came up to me. Now, Ben graduated from Miami with a stellar GPA, taking a heavy load and pushing himself to the max. Every year at every college, there's an award given for the Scholar Athlete of the Year of all sports. Ben got it. That's what it says right here. It says Miami Redhawks 2014-15 Miami University, the W. Pat Rodebush Scholar Athlete of the Year, Ben Paulides, ice hockey. graduation night, he was given that. And he walked over to dinner with it, and he goes, his whole family was there. And he goes, guys, I can't believe I got this. He didn't know. He was stunned. Out of all moments, one of the most proud, definitely, that Ben was able to achieve that. Because it told me that he had the ability to not only be a great athlete, but to apply himself and be an intellect too. Now, all through this time, Ben was deeply ingrained with what I was doing and what I was writing about. And we had many, many conversations about it, about missing people. And in fact, I spent 3 days at Miami at his school researching the disappearance of one student years earlier. And I wrote about it. And it fit the profile, which was odd that I found it. Ben was never embarrassed about what I did. In fact, as he got older, he got more attached to it. He read almost every Bigfoot book I could give him. And several years before he passed, we had some of the most phenomenal talks I've ever had with anybody about Bigfoot, UFOs, the world, politics. And when Ben was younger, I had split custody with my ex. And the kids migrated towards a belief system that was not mine. And I never pushed my beliefs on them, ever. But they would ask me as they got older. And Ben was someone who probably right after he graduated and started to go to film school at USC, he said, Dad, he goes, he started to talk more about rights, about freedom of speech, about protecting what we have. And I was stunned. I said, how did you come to this? Because I just started to read more and I started to be a critical thinker. I said, oh my gosh, Ben, that's great. And things just got better and better on that. So anyhow, Ben graduates from Miami and he had an opportunity to go to the Sharks and play probably in the AHL if he wanted to. But he didn't want to. He said, Dad, I'm done with hockey. My body's beat up and I want to go to film school. I said, that's great. What's your plan? He says, I want to go to film school. I want to make film. And I knew right then that he's smart enough to do anything he wanted to do. And he'd be a success at it. I never had a concern about that. But he had already applied for USC. And to get into their graduate film school, without going to undergrad, without having any background in film, it was a monumental task. Ben got in. And again, we made Missing 411. Made a series of videos right here on this channel. If you scroll all the way down on the channel of all the videos, you'll see the ones that Ben did with the black boxes around them with the faces inside. He did a great job. And he told me when we were contemplating making the videos, he said, Dad, there's a lot of people out there in the world that just don't want to read. And he goes, the younger generation doesn't want to read. And he goes, I don't understand it because Ben liked reading. He bought a new book every week. And he said that the way to get through to them and to build your audience is make videos. And he was 100% right. I listened to him. And I said, let's do it. And we walked down that path together. Do I regret that? No. No, I think it's opened up a portion of the world that would never have heard of me otherwise. But while we were doing the movie, there were times that Ben acted in a way I'd never have seen him. He seemed to get angry at things that normal people would not have. And we worked our way through the movie and eventually got it done. And it stands as a testament to my relationship with Ben. I really gave him complete freedom. I just gave him the cases and some outlines to follow and make sure he did this and that on the case, but the way it was set up was all Ben. And he brought another guy over to help too. He helped a lot. So Ben went to USC. And Ben always had, he had a knack for this, of always having a gorgeous, super smart, very nice girlfriend. Always. And when he got to USC, he found a girl that was, bar none, one of the sweetest people I've ever met. And she was in film school too. And they worked together to make a series of ads for the program. And she came out to Colorado at one point. And it was me and her and Ben went on a big hike on the big South Trail where Jared Adadero disappeared. And going out there, I'll never forget this. For some reason, I don't know why, it was one of those times Ben just got really mad at me. And I never yelled. I just asked, hey, what can I do to be better? And, what can I do to get this over with? And if I'm doing something wrong, let me know. And I remember that we pulled into a gas station. And I went in, and Ben's girlfriend took him by the hand and went for a walk. Came back to my truck. 20 minutes later, they came back. Ben was an entirely new person. Later on, I told her, whatever you said to Ben, thank you. Those were the times where I started to understand that something was different. Something had happened with Ben. He couldn't control certain aspects of his emotion. And it only happened at rare times. And God gave me the ability to never lose my temper at those times. Somehow I knew something was right, something was wrong. And I never held it against him. Even though some of those times were brutal. As time went on at USC, he continued to thrive in film school. And he would send me products he did, and we'd talk. And then eventually I get a call from this girl, his girlfriend, saying, Dave, you need to come out here right now. Something happened. I said, is he alive? Yeah, he's alive. I think he's going to be okay, but you need to come out. I said, okay. Jumped the first plane, got out there in a few hours. And Ben was manic. I'd never quite seen him like this. Everything was great in the world. He loved everybody. If I had to guess, he was was on some type of ecstasy medication, but I knew something happened. And I called his mom, and the girlfriend explained that, Ben had taken a massive amount of mushrooms, and he had thought that maybe that would help him become a better director. She said that after he came out of that, he started acting like this. We eventually got him to a psychiatrist, and he was diagnosed as bipolar. And during those times he was manic. I can remember sitting on his couch in his room at USC. We were holding hands. And I said, let's have one of these real life moments. Tell me what you're thinking. And it was during those times he couldn't sleep. And we would walk for 4 or 5 hours a night. And I wouldn't let him go out in the middle of the night by himself because USC has a rough area. I said, I'd go with you. It drained me. But I knew I couldn't let him out alone. We saw a psychiatrist. His mom, me, Ben went in. Ben went in alone, and then we talked to him together. And the psychiatrist explained his condition. Ben did not agree. And the prescription was for lithium. Ben agreed he'd take it for a while just to see, and he didn't like the feeling, and he stopped taking it right away. And it was pretty rocky for a while. But it was soon after that he called us up and he goes, "Hey, I'm quitting school." I said, "What?" I said, "You're on your last quarter, on your last class to get your master's. What are you doing?" And he goes, No. He goes, "This is all crap." He goes, I don't need this anymore. I'm fine. I'm leaving. I said, "Where are you going?" He goes, "Dad," he goes, "I need to be on a spiritual search right now. And I'm going to go live with the Krishnas." Now, again, I have an open mind. And I didn't say anything. I said, "Okay." I said, "Can I come down with you and see, where you're living and what it's all about?" He said, "Yeah." And I read everything I could grab in the next 24 hours before I left and got down there. And I've had some people pretty close to me recently say it's a cult. I would disagree. Ben lived there for 2 years. I think in many ways the Krishna world extended Ben's life for 2 years. The psychiatrist had told us privately that people who are bipolar have the highest rate of successful suicide. They stated that they were some of the smartest people, some of the toughest conditions to diagnose and to prescribe for, and they were smart enough how to take their life if they really wanted to. And they said that it's going to be a very rocky road because the highs are super high and the lows are very low. Well, seeing your son go from the top tiers in sports to the top tiers in film to the Krishna world, I didn't want to judge Ben. I wanted him to be happy. I never berated him. I just asked him Tell me what you need in life and let me help you. And Ben believed that if he devoted his life to God, Krishna was a god, that he would be, I suppose that he would get something. Reprieve. Well, as he started to study Krishna, he understood that being a vegetarian was going to be his way of life. And being a man that always dove into everything 110%, he learned about Ayurvedic food. And he became one of the best cooks I've ever had the pleasure of eating. He was really a good cook. And especially with Ayurvedic cooking. Went to his house many times and he would cook for me, and you go, wow, Dad, I can't believe you're eating all that. It was really good. And everything with Ayurvedic is cooked. And he took me to a restaurant about 40 minutes away from his place. And it was an Ayurvedic restaurant. And he introduced me to the chef, this Indian man, super smart. And he was actually the chef, the Ayurvedic chef for the Beatles. Man was super smart, really a good guy. And in fact, after Ben passed away, I met with him, and he was stunned that Ben took his life. But Ben got into this Ayurvedic cooking, and he believed that if he stayed on this diet, it would help him cleanse his mind and control his emotions. And I get that. I've had people tell me that maybe the mental health and the general overall health of our society has been greatly affected by fast food. And maybe if we ate a cleaner diet, we would all be better off as a society. And Ben knew that. When Ben was growing up, we rarely ate at those kind of places. We always fed him the most wholesome food we could find and afford. But I know most people can't do that. So, Ayurvedic. And Ben continued on that way. He drove out to Colorado a couple times and just cooked for Angie and I for a week straight. It was awesome. And I know some of you would think, oh God, vegetarian food, yuck. No, you haven't had really good Ayurvedic food. It's awesome. So, Ben had some more bouts of very low lows. And I went down there to see him one last time. And we had this heart-to-heart. Let me say that there's one thing in my mind that I'm 100% comfortable with. Is that Ben knew positively that there was nobody on this earth that cared about him or loved him more than me. It's impossible. On that opposite end, it crushes me that wasn't enough to keep him around. Probably selfish of me. As I've grown through the months since he left, I've had that better understanding of the hell that people go through under these conditions. The pain that he must have been through was beyond our comprehension. The pain people go through out there that are watching this right now. I wish there was some way that we could alleviate that, and we should be able to as a society. I still remember the moment that Ben and I took this picture together right before I left. I made him promise to me, Ben, nobody means more to me in this world than you. You cannot think about taking your life. You're too valuable. You have too much to give. Dad, I won't. But he did. I don't want to rehash how I found out, or I'm the one that called the police, had them go out and do a check on him, a welfare check, and they found him. He didn't leave a note. I'm okay with that. The hundreds, if not thousands of you who have written to me about your trials and tribulations with people who have taken their lives around you. If you have a mental health issue, I would ask you, anybody out there that has mental health problems, and everybody really does, but it's the severity of it. I want you to think about everyone around you that loves you, cares about you. Even if you think nobody does, there are. And if you take your life, you take all of your issues, and you take your life, and you take the taking of your life, and you push it onto us. And now I'm living with Ben's issues, Ben's problems, Ben's mental health problems. I'll live with that for the rest of my life. I want you to think of the impact that decision will have on others. Because it's huge. I don't know of any other thing in the world that has had the impact on me like this has. Nothing comes close. And I've had some pretty bad things happen, but nothing comes close. I don't wish this on anybody. Everyone knows I've been seeing a grief counselor about this. She's told me, Dave, it'll be with you forever. It's a scary proposition for me. I want to get past thinking about Ben taking his life. I want to get past that. I want to think about the contributions Ben made to our world. He was a very, very calm soul, especially around kids. He really knew how to work with them. When we made the movie and we had some child actors, the parents said, man, that guy's gold. Your son is really, really good with kids. I appreciated that. Many of you have sent me things. Thank you. I've had several people send me sketches that they've done. Thank you. The letters you write, the emails you send, they're awesome. This is something that was sent to me. It took someone a lot of time to make it. And I actually have this up in my office. And I appreciate it. I don't want you guys to send me anything more. I don't need anything. The emails you send out, I like those. I read every one. And I know many of you don't believe it. The comments you make in our videos, awesome. Thank you. And the village we're in, we need to support each other. Everybody has life issues. Everyone goes through a bout of depression. There's no doubt in my mind. It's how we get through that depression. It's how we break through and find happiness again. I've had things happen in my life in the last few years, on top of what happened to Ben, that have been huge blows. That by themselves knocked me 10 feet back. Sometimes I think of people right now that are in far worse conditions than me, fighting for the life of themselves and their family, trying to get to a location like where I live, where you live, where we are safe. I think about those people and it brings me back to the reality of how lucky I guess I am, and how lucky we are that we can talk like this. We lose sight of those things. We lose sight of the ability that we can go down to the store, find almost anything we want on a shelf right now. Some places in the world you can't. One of the last places Ben went before he passed on was he went to India for a month. And that's a really sacred area in the Krishna world. And he wanted to go there and he wanted to experience certain people, certain locations. I'm glad he did it. And he came back and he spent days talking to me about it. It's an area that's just ripe with history if you understand it. I want to say that I pray that I can move on from this topic and be a more inspiring, positive, and uplifting presence on this channel. I can't continue to live in the doldrums and think about what's happened to me the last couple of years. Ben did a lot for me, changed my life. He gave me you. He gave me this movie. He gave me all these great moments. Thank you. Now let's work together to make this a better place, a more loving place. That's somewhere where we can rally together and support each other at that time of need. I'm going to finish this video. I'm going to go put on my shoes. I'm going to do about a 4 or 5 mile run. And for me, I come back from a run with a different frame of mind. It helps me. And I think I need to go do that. So go find your happy place. Let's keep in touch. And let's hope that this channel keeps me up. All right? Thank you for paying attention to the life story of Ben on his birthday, August 26th. Have a great day.